Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today, we're going deep into the unsettling story of Allan Patterson Newman.
Oh, this is a fascinating one. A real head scratcher.
Yeah, American serial killer, and we're going to try to understand, well, who he was, what he did, and what might have driven him to do it.
Right, right.
We're using his Wikipedia entry as our main source here.
Okay.
And I think what's so striking about Newman is that, at first glance, his life seems so, I don't know, ordinary.
Yeah. I mean, born in Wheaton, Maryland, went to Virginia Tech?
Right, normal stuff. You wouldn't exactly think future serial killer, right?
No, not at all. Seems like he could have been anyone.
Exactly. But then you start digging a little and, well, the cracks start to show.
Yeah. He didn't graduate from Virginia Tech, for one.
Right, and then there are these 2 suicide attempts
Oh, wow.
after breakups with girlfriends, so some emotional instability there, maybe.
Definitely some red flags.
And then, and this is really disturbing, in 1982, he attacks his ex-girlfriend and her date.
Okay, so this is, what, years before the main crime spree?
Years before, it's like a preview of the violence to come.
Wow. What happened exactly?
Well, he used butcher knives, tried to choke his ex, stabbed the date multiple times.
Oh, man.
Even cut the phone lines, broke down a door to get to them.
So this wasn't just like a heat-of-the-moment thing. This was...
Planned.
Yeah.
Frightening, right?
Absolutely. That level of aggression, the premeditation, it's scary.
And what's really, really unsettling is that he pleads not guilty by reason of insanity.
Oh, interesting. So the question is, was he?
Right. And even if he was, the sentencing back then, it makes you wonder.
It was a different time, for sure.
He got mandatory psychiatric counseling probation, but was that enough?
Right. Could they have, I don't know, intervened more effectively? Could things have been different?
It's a chilling thought. And to make it even worse, he writes an apology letter.
Oh, no. Saying what?
Claiming he was a changed man.
Right. Trying to rehabilitate his image. Classic manipulation tactic.
And then, as you said, years later, the crime spree begins.
What, in 1991?
1991, starts by stealing a car in Rockville, Maryland, shoots the owner in the process,
Okay.
and then uses that stolen car to rob a bank in Virginia.
So carjacking becomes a key part of his MO.
Yeah, he uses stolen vehicles for the robberies for his getaways.
Smart from a criminal perspective, I guess.
Keep people mobile, hard to track, and the violence, it just keeps escalating.
Does it? In what way?
Well, in November of 91, he murders 2 maintenance workers, Jose Escobar and Mara Portillo.
Oh, that's awful. What were the circumstances?
Seems like a botched burglary.
Right. Wrong place, wrong time kind of thing.
A tragic reminder that that can happen.
Absolutely. It can happen to anyone.
And it feels like a lot of his victims, they were chosen randomly just because they were there.
Like no real connection to him.
No apparent connection. In 92, there's Jose Ramos, killed in a parking lot robbery.
Just for his car, or?
Seemingly. Just senseless brutality.
Yeah. That's a hallmark of, a certain type of criminal. It's not just about the money. It's
something else, something darker. And then there's Dr. Shaheen Hashtrudi.
I don't know that name.
She was an Iranian-born professor. He murders her for her car.
Oh, God, that's terrible.
And then uses her car in another bank robbery.
Oh, wow. That detail, it's chilling. Just a complete...
Disregard for human life.
Yeah, it's like he's dehumanizing his victims. They're just
Obstacle.
tools. It's a horrifying look into the mind of someone capable of that kind of cruelty.
And it's like, with each crime, the stakes get higher, the risks greater.
Right. He's pushing the limits, testing how far he can go.
Exactly. And it culminates in this terrifying incident in October of 92. He carjacks 2 teenage girls.
Oh, wow. So now he's targeting, like...
The vulnerable victims.
Yeah. Young girls. So a whole new level of...
Depravity.
Yeah. And danger. I mean, who knows what he might have.
But this time, fate intervenes. Or maybe it's just pure luck. An off-duty police officer, Thomas J. Fenwick, he's nearby, sees what's happening, and steps in.
Wow. So this officer, he
becomes the catalyst. His actions set off a chain of events that brings Newman down.
I bet. So what happens? A chase?
A massive 3-state chase. Shootouts with the police. It's like something out of a movie.
It's crazy to think about it, all because of this one guy. The chaos, the fear.
And you have to think about the people involved, the officers, the bystanders. Everyone's lives are at risk.
Absolutely. It's a powerful reminder that these stories, they have real-world consequences. People get hurt.
Yeah, and the chase, it ends in Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. Newman crashes the stolen car. He's cornered.
So what does he try to escape? Fight his way out?
No. He engages in a standoff with the police, threatens suicide. It's almost like he's reached a breaking point, like the weight of his actions is finally...
Crushing him. Or maybe it's a last-ditch attempt to control the situation.
Maybe. It's hard to know what's going through his mind at that point.
Right. Is it genuine despair? Or is it just another manipulation tactic?
And then there's this bizarre detail that comes out. During the standoff, he asks to call his mother.
To say goodbye?
Partly, but he also wants the officers to ask her about his favorite cookie.
His favorite cookie. What? That's so strange.
It's completely out of place, right? In the middle of this tense standoff, he's worried about cookies.
It makes you wonder, what's the meaning behind that? Is it a genuine human connection, a desire for comfort? Or is it, like you said, another manipulation?
It's impossible to know for sure, but it definitely adds to the mystery of Allan Patterson Newman.
So what happens next? Does he surrender?
He does, and the full scope of his crimes starts to become clear. The police, they link him to all 4 murders.
How? Through, like, DNA evidence?
Ballistics, they were able to match the bullets to his guns.
Wow. So it was like good old-fashioned detective work that brought him down.
Yeah, and it wasn't just that. They were also able to rule him out as a suspect in 2 other murders that initially seemed connected.
So they were being thorough, making sure they had the right guy.
Exactly. Which is so important in these cases. You don't want to convict someone based on, assumptions or hunches.
Absolutely. It's all about the evidence. So what's the verdict?
Well, facing a mountain of evidence, Newman strikes a plea deal to avoid the death penalty.
Makes sense. I mean, what else could he do at that point?
He pleads guilty to multiple charges, gets multiple life sentences. Basically, he's going to spend the rest of his life behind bars.
Which, considering what he did, it seems.
Just.
Yeah.
But the story doesn't end there. In 2000, Newman is found dead in his prison cell.
Oh. What happened?
That's the thing. The circumstances surrounding his death, they're mysterious. The cause was never determined.
So we don't know if it was?
Natural causes, suicide, foul play. We just don't know.
Wow. It's like, just when you think you've figured out the puzzle, there's this missing piece.
Exactly. It's like the final chapter of his story is just dot blank.
It leaves you with a lot of questions.
And I think that's what makes Allan Patterson Newman's story so compelling, so unsettling. We've traced his journey from this seemingly normal life to these horrific acts of violence, but the why, it remains elusive. It's like he takes this dark secret to the grave with him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes this whole case, I don't know, it's what makes it so fascinating, right?
Right. I mean, we've gone through his life. We see this progression from, what seems like a normal childhood, and then things start to go off the rails, and then boom, these horrific crimes. But the question is, why? What was the turning point?
Right. Right. It's like we're looking for that missing piece of the puzzle, that one thing that could explain it all.
And, we've talked about those early warning signs, the suicide attempts, the attack on his ex-girlfriend. It's like he was struggling with something deep down, maybe some kind of, I don't know, emotional turmoil that he just couldn't handle.
It's possible. I mean, those are pretty significant red flags. It's like he was, I don't know, maybe lashing out, trying to exert some kind of control over his life.
But then that doesn't really explain the murders, does it? I mean, those seem so cold and calculated.
Right, and that's where it gets really complicated. Because on the one hand, you have this impulsivity, this rage that seems to be driving him. But then on the other hand, there's this element of planning, this almost like a detached cruelty to his crime.
It's like he's compartmentalizing. He's able to shut off his emotions, to see his victims as, I don't know, less than human.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe it was something else entirely. Maybe there was some kind of, I don't know, twisted satisfaction he got from it all. Some kind of a dark thrill. It's hard to say for sure.
It is. And without being able to, actually get inside of head, we're just left to speculate. Which I think is part of what draws people to true crime, right?
Oh, absolutely. We want to try to understand the darkness, the evil that human beings are capable of.
Yeah. We want to make sense of the senseless, but sometimes there were just no easy answers.
Nope. And that's okay. Sometimes the mystery is, well, it's part of what keeps us coming back for more.
It definitely keeps things interesting. So I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the life and crimes of Allan Patterson Newman. A man who, despite all our efforts, remains an enigma.
Yeah, a real mystery.
And that's the thing about true crime, isn't it? It's not just about the facts of the case. It's about the questions that linger long after the story is over.
The whe's and the what ifs.
Exactly. So to all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has given you something to think about, maybe sparked your curiosity to learn more about this case, or maybe even just, I don't know, made you appreciate the complexities of the human mind.
And the importance of being aware, of looking out for those red flags. You never know what someone might be going through.
Very true. So until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never stop learning.